Today we have something completely different. This is my 1964 Yamaha YG1t, which is a very cool and pretty darn uncommon bike. What is it? Well, 80cc, roughly. I think it's 77 or 78 or something, but they call it 80. And this is what they used to call back in the day, a trail bike, which is basically, it's a derivative of their kind of basic transportation street bike, similar to kind of like a Honda. It's a little bit more motorcycle than a Honda Cub, but it is, you know, that same similar style, small displacement, real lightweight. I think it's like 170 pounds soaking wet. And being the T on the YG1T, the T part is the trail component. And what does that mean? So you got bigger mud flaps, oh boy, which those are the originals. You have little stubbier ones with the standard model. The standard model also had a double seat. So instead of the single passenger seat with a rack, you simply had just a double seat, which came back further. Also, you got turn signals. This one, it was optional. Whoever had it once upon a time did not opt for it. You can see it still has the switch for it, but it doesn't have the actual signals. Here's the mounts for them. And you still get the switch, but it's a dummy. It doesn't do anything. You try and turn it, you get nothing. It's just there. And yeah, but it's got this kind of cool, classic, you know, pressed steel frame construction. It's got the old chrome-sided tanks with the pads, a toaster tank style. That was very in vogue in the day. And this particular one, I've had it for about 6 years now. I bought it from somebody that was just looking to offload it on the cheap over in Stockton, the catalytic converter theft capital of the globe. And I paid a whole $400 for it as a non-runner, you know, the classic ran when parked example. So it's not perfect. You know, it's got some dings on the tank. You know, it's got some surface rust on some of the components, stuff that's pretty easy to clean up. Somebody clearanced this muffler here, so you know, if you're riding with a boot or something, I don't know, but they hammered that down so they can have a little bit more room for what they got to do. The tires are comically old. These old ones aren't too brutally bad, but the fronts are trash. It'll hold air for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, eventually leaks out. Those absolutely should be replaced. And yeah, I think that is ultimately what I'm going to do with this bike. I am going to indeed sell it. Actually, I have a gentleman coming to look at it later today, but if it doesn't sell there to this person who's a little bit of a collector, then yeah, the next stop is going to be getting it over to maybe Bring a Trailer. I might run it on Bring a Trailer. I don't know if it's quite, you know, not quite clean enough for Bring a Trailer. It does have some miles on it after all. 11,372, which, you know, for a small displacement bike like this, it tops out at roughly 40 miles an hour. That's a pretty good count there on the mileage. You know, it does have little pitting and stuff like that. It's got the cool classic Yamaha logo, but just a really unique bike. You've got, this is lights, I believe. You have a horn, which the battery on it right now is a little questionable. So I'll probably have to start it to get the horn going. Got a choke, obviously clutch side, front brake, throttle. And it is a runner. We'll start it up here in a second. I'll set the camera aside in a spot where we can see it here, my little makeshift storage unit where I have the Z71 Suburban, the sandbar, the little loafer, so that's the photo booth corner. You can kind of see I picked up a 1980 Honda C70 Passport, so that's a Super Cub over there. And then the stolen S2000, which is not really stolen, that's my mom's. Anyways, getting ahead of myself. Yeah, but these are really cool bikes. You know, if it's funny, if this was a Honda, you know, I don't know what the value is on it. Probably the way it sits, it's probably, you know, maybe a $2,500 bike on its best day. Probably more realistically a $2,000 bike, depending on who's buying it. If this was a Honda, you know, you'd probably add 40% to the value, 30% to the value, just because that's what people are looking for. But I prefer these. I think it's a more interesting looking bike. They are far more uncommon, just because Honda was such a market leader at the time. And so I think these are more interesting. I think they've got this, what they call a rotary valve setup for the these two strokes. And so it's, they make good power for what they are. I mean, not huge. It's probably putting out 6 horsepower. I don't know what it is on paper, but probably about that. And, you know, Yamaha's a good brand. You know, it's not like they're some orphan brand. People will recognize Yamaha. And so you show up anywhere in one of these, you know, the level of cool factor per dollar that you get with something like this is extraordinarily high. You know, a couple $1,000, $2,500. You roll up anywhere in this thing, and people are going to want to talk about it. And it's light, you know, it's approachable, and I don't know, I'm pretty into it. Problem is, I don't ride the damn thing, and I can use the cash. I don't really need the room. This doesn't take up a whole lot of room, but I can use the money to finish up some of the other projects I got going on, like the Galant and 924 Turbo. So this guy is going to go to a new home. So if I don't sell it to this guy that's going to be looking at it in a little bit, you know, maybe it'll still be available when they put this video out into the world. Startup procedure, pretty straightforward. Fuel on. I already turned the petcock, so that's good. This is a new petcock and some new lines. Put a little inline filter there. Just old bikes, you never know what over the past, what, damn near 60 years has found its way maybe into the tank. So that's just a insurance there. And yeah, we turn this thing on and maybe fire her up. What do we think? Maybe I can do this, you know, while holding a GoPro. Oh, she wants to go. Choke. You know what I should do? I should set this thing down and actually start this thing while not holding a GoPro. Okay, but one more kick and we'll do just that. All right, well, let me do that. Let me set this GoPro. I'll set it over there and we'll start her up, shall we? That's her. Cool little bike. And yeah.